often hear every crisis gives birth to an opportunity, and every opportunity is space for a new leader to grow. We've heard this quite often. And what a business leader does in a moment of crisis talks a lot about the company's culture, about how they prioritize business needs and employee well being and safety. In this episode, we want to talk about how leaders are dealing with the biggest human crisis that we know. This is the second episode of HR Voices, a show where we prioritize receptiveness. We gain perspectives from opinion makers and industry leaders along the HR landscape to get a holistic perspective on the top trends and topics that are happening. On that note, I want to invite to the conversation Mr. Srinivas Ladwa, the CHRO of Reliance Nippon Life Insurance. A very warm welcome to you, sir.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you for having me. Thank you very much.
So, today's topic, like I was saying, is leadership and resilience in the moment of crisis. And it becomes a very important and a very timely topic because now that we were discussing how in a moment of crisis, when you have subsequent lockdowns or perhaps very stringent curfews, the physical operations gets affected so much. And in life insurance, perhaps you have so many people on ground and you have a corporate office that coordinates this back and forth. So how do you ensure that while people are dealing with loss, they don't get overwhelmed? As a leader, how do you prioritize that they don't get overwhelmed and there's business continuity?
Thank you, Janani, for the question. I think everybody agrees this is a crisis of the century. There is very little to look back and say this is how one could deal with this. So it's all about actually figuring this out along with your people. Lots of employees are infected by this infection called COVID, and many more have families who are suffering currently. There is a sense of anxiety, stress, and exhaustion. I would say a few things. How do you build a sense of psychological safety, a sense of security, a sense of safety? And this is not just about livelihoods, it's about lives. How do you help people in the crisis to be able to remain safe, at the same time pursue their professional livelihood and ensure safety of family now and in the future? I think one model that the world has adopted is the work from home. And many companies like ours have gone back to work from home. We really never went back to work after the first crisis, but the second wave, we've gone back again. We've institutionalized a lot of our business processes to be able to conduct business online digitally. The first experience taught us what is workable, what is doable, and we've gone back to those models.
Right.
Apart from that, I think what we've learned over the last 1 year is ongoing communication. We've created a large number of task force. We obviously built structured frameworks to allow us to operate in the new environment. And of course, we have light moments, we share positive messages, ongoing catch-ups. I'll give you examples. My team, we have about 500 employees who are impacted.
Right.
My team has spoken to every one of them, every one of their family members to say that the company is watching, taking care, and making sure that they are safe.
Right.
We have a COVID task force that actually operates 24/7, and any employee who needs hospitalization, we ensure that that is provided for.
Right.
We have a lot of suggestions that came from our teams. One was to actually create a contingency fund, because not everybody is going to the hospital, but some of them who are not earning as much but are facing huge expenses. We've created that fund, and we've given that discretion on the ground to quickly make those decisions, whether it is for CT scans, ambulance services, unfortunately even for funeral services. So I think making sure that one is genuine, authentic about the challenge being honest that all solutions are not, which is all that I think takes us through this journey. People know we are human.
Mhm.
We make, we learn through the journey.
Mhm.
And
Building on what you had said, sir, in terms of how there is a human side to this story, um, our approach to resilience as a topic has always been a consequence based action. Resilience, we see it as a bounce back capability. What we don't often look at it as like a behavioral response, we see it as a cognitive response. We don't see it as a behavioral response to a moment of change or a moment of crisis. So, do you think that we should change how we look at resilience as a topic? What are your thoughts on the subject?
I agree with you, Jan. I think it is not, resilience is not about reacting to a situation. Resilience is about knowing before the situation comes up that there could be differences in the outcomes that you expect
Mm,
versus the reality.
mm,
Anticipating that and building this into your behavior, into your attitude is
mm.
important.
Right.
It is not only specific to work life. I
Mm,
guess it's now uh, more than ever
mm.
relevant in our personal lives, in our general life as we conduct or navigate through this crisis.
So, I want to also understand how, as a person, like we often see only business leaders as a sort of a unit who mechanically runs over operations. We don't see the human element to it. At the end of the day, even the business leader is susceptible to the crisis that's going on. So, I want to understand how leaders should focus on building that division on how they navigate successfully from personal to professional, and also maintain that sense of uh, sense of confidence in how they go forward. So your thoughts on how we can divide that, and understand that as a as a human there's only so much you can do, and how you deal with that.
This situation is exceptional, and I sometimes wonder if one can actually separate out the personal part of it from the professional part of it.
Right.
Things that happen where you take a break and move and do something.
Mm-hmm.
I guess my way has been to actually adapt to the
Mm-hmm.
environment, and this is how life is going to. And there will be issues, professional issues that will come over the weekend. There will be personal issues that will come up during the day
Mm-hmm.
uh, or during the week.
Mm-hmm.
I think trying to focus too much on separating this out
Mm-hmm.
is versus trying to actually say we deal with what we face and then take our moment
Mm-hmm.
with our family, with our hobbies to relax and enjoy those moments.
Then I think my last question really tapers down to we understand how catering to employee mental health and well-being is an important lesson from the pandemic. So there are so many stressors in personal and professional life, and like you said, sometimes it's okay to just let it happen, and try to not try actively to segregate it, but perhaps to take time for every little thing. So I want to understand personally, what do you take time for? What are some things that you do to relieve yourself from external stressors and the pressure of what is happening around us? So, your personal tips on how a leader can stay focused and also put a brave front in a moment of crisis.
So nothing special. I started getting up a little earlier in the day.
Mm,
So try and get 5:30, go out for a run. So
mm,
it's a 1 hour run. Sort of I built it into my routine,
mm,
and that kind of freshens me up for the day.
mm,
Family is a big pillar, like many other professionals would agree.
mm,
Being around with your family, your kids, spending a little bit of time with them
mm.
while you're doing your calls, while you're doing your email, looking through your emails. They could
Right.
run up to you and ask you questions. It's a stress buster.
Right.
I'm fortunate that I have a family around me, and that's how I would say it relieves me of some of the stresses.
Mm,
As a leader, I think just have your fun moments with your team.
mhm,
Uh, be, be there for them.
mhm,
Ask them for solutions.
mhm.
give them that space to be always open to hearing from them their challenges and potentially problem solve for them.
Mm-hmm.
Many times I've seen my members actually just want to bounce off ideas rather than asking me for a solution. So when they bounce off ideas, you just tell them a perspective and then let them take those calls. Some of them will be right, some of them will need to change over a period of time.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Just be genuine, just be authentic, and people will believe that you have their interest at heart.
So the key takeaways, I believe, is creating a psychologically safe workplace first, ensuring that you're there, talking, communicating, like you had said, in a moment of crisis. And then when it comes to looking at leadership, if I understand right, you're saying, let it happen. Don't try to actively define and differentiate things, but rather let it happen and try to find the little joys in what you're doing as you go along. I think that has been a mantra that we should practice very actively. So thank you, Mr. Ladwa. Thank you for your insights today. I think there is a lot that we really hope we tide over this quickly and business operations resume. And we see a new breed of leaders who are more empathetic and more focused on how they can bridge this the business needs and at the same time employee well-being. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your insights. It's a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you.